Warning. This episode of Nameless contains post-mortem and crime scene photos and discussion of sexual assault. Viewer discretion is advised. A cemetery is often where loved ones are laid to rest, but for one young, unidentified woman, her last moments were anything but peaceful. 41 years ago, she was dumped at the back gate of a cemetery after being murdered. Police call her Woodlawn Jane Doe, but she remains nameless. Sunday, September 12th, 1976. A serene morning in the quiet community of Woodlawn, Maryland. Around 10:20 a.m., a local man driving along Dogwood Road rounded a corner where the twisting asphalt wove between Dead Run Park and the back entrance of Lorraine Park Cemetery. Near the 5600 block, something just beyond the trees to his left catches his attention. Pulling over, he ducks into the foliage to investigate, where he finds the deceased body of a young girl. Warning, the next couple of crime scene photos may disturb some of you. The upper part of her body, swathed in a white sheet, concealed the horror beneath. A grass seed bag and 2 bandanas covering her face, tied together in a square knot at the back of her neck with a rope. Her hands are bound behind her back, and lodged in her throat is a piece of the grass seed bag. The man immediately calls local authorities to the scene. Authorities arrive and begin dissecting the crime scene. They know they have a homicide on their hands. The sheet surrounding her torso is 130 thread count, a notably low-quality bed sheet often used in inpatient institutions. Bandanas are wrapped over her face, one blue and white, the other orange and white, with eye and nose holes crudely cut out. The grass seed bag found around her face and stuffed in her throat reads, Farm Bureau Association Grass Seed, Lexington, Massachusetts. It's from a factory in Buffalo, New York, who only sold the product in 5 cities in Massachusetts: Waltham, Rochdale, Lowell, South Weymouth, and Greenfield. The bags were no longer produced after 1974, 2 years prior to Jane Doe's murder. The rope securing the knot behind her neck is 10 to 12 feet long, and the bandage-like restraints binding her hands are tied in, quote, high-quality knots. In the girl's right front pocket, detectives find 2 brass keys on a safety pin. One was made by ILCO out of Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and bore the serial number DB09212. One is a house key, and the other unlocks a night latch, a type of lock that momentarily allows entry and locks itself after the key is removed. But the questions remain. Who did this to her, and who was she? The only clues come from the autopsy. The woman, anywhere from 15 to 25 years old, was savagely sexually assaulted, brutally beaten, and strangled within 24 hours of being discovered. The cause of death was asphyxiation from strangulation, and the piece of seed bag lodged in her throat likely aided in her demise. A high amount of chlorpromazine was in her system, a drug mainly used to treat schizophrenia, but it also served as a sedative. Woodlawn Jane Doe, as investigators came to call her, was likely born sometime between 1946 and 1961, weighed approximately 159 pounds, and stood around 5 feet 8 inches tall with blood type O positive. Despite having 1 crooked tooth, the amount and scope of dental work done to her molars, 3 removed and fillings on 5 others, told investigators she likely wasn't homeless or impoverished. Warning, the next photo is a post-mortem photo, but it is not graphic. Olive-skinned, authorities thought the woman could have come from either a Caucasian or Hispanic background. She had shoulder-length dark brown or black hair that crested at the widow's peak, brown eyes, and pierced ears. In addition to a 1.5-inch scar on her upper right thigh, Jane Doe also had a tattoo of 2 letters on her left arm. Due to the amateur quality, investigators determined there were several combination possibilities: SS, SP, SD, SB, JD, JB, or JP, which is currently thought to be the correct variation. Though Doe had been raped, she was redressed before her killer or killers disposed of her body. She was wearing Levi brand tannish and yellow jeans and a white bra under a white and beige short-sleeved pullover. On her feet were brown, gray, and beige knee-high striped socks and 1 tan leather moccasin with twine laces and rubber soles. A matching rubber sole was located close to the body. Around her neck was a single piece of jewelry, a rawhide necklace strung through a round turquoise bead. Based on the evidence, authorities speculate that Doe was murdered elsewhere before being dumped along Dogwood Road, and they believe that someone in the area likely knows her or knows what happened to her. News of the brutal murder goes public, and soon the Baltimore County Police Department is flooded with hundreds of possible leads. Everyone from drug dealers to taxi drivers, landlords, mothers, and sisters call in, all claiming to know her. Tips come in from as far away as Illinois and California, and Woodlawn Doe's file grows to a 6-inch thick binder. She's even profiled on the TV show America's Most Wanted. Flyers are passed around to dancers and bartenders, area hospitals, clinics, and jails, but in the immediate aftermath, only one tip provides a possible connection to Doe's case. A local resident and her daughter drove along Dogwood Road that same morning at approximately 9:20 a.m., headed to church services when they passed a van, a Ford Econoline parked on the side of the road, close to where the body was found an hour later. Authorities think it's possible that the van belonged to the killer, who was in the process of hiding Jane Doe's body when the witness drove by. After this, tips came less frequently over the years. There were no matches to her dentals, fingerprints, or later, DNA. Still, police never forgot her case, and Baltimore County PD assigned 2 veteran homicide detectives, Philip G. Marl and James W. Tincher, to a specialized cold case squad in 2002. Decades pass without much progress, and in the time between, theories are the main discussion surrounding Woodlawn Doe's case. Over the years, web sleuthers and investigators have ruled out several missing persons as the Woodlawn Jane Doe. The following women are from that list of rule-outs: Bertha Smith from Arizona, Thelma Cobb, Indiana, Betty Roberts, Maryland, Rhonda Lobby, Massachusetts, Edna Kaminsky, New York, Beverly Sharpman, Pennsylvania, Jennifer Joyce Barton and Flora Dean Walker from Texas, Helen Stark from Wisconsin, and Olga Mauger from Wyoming. On a post about the case, a Facebook user suggested that Woodlawn Doe could have been Barbara Gluckert, who went missing from Huntley, Illinois on August 21, 1976, approximately 3 weeks before Jane Doe's body was found. Upon first glance at Barbara, the resemblance seems promising. Both have brown hair and eyes, and both are wearing a leather-beaded necklace and tan leather, quote, earth shoes. However, there are some issues with this theory. Barbara's body has never been found, but many believe she was the victim of Thomas G. Urlacher, a man with a history of sexually assaulting women, and the last person to be seen with Barbara. Days after Barbara went missing, Urlacher moved to San Francisco, California. Since Woodlawn, Maryland is 745 miles away from Huntley, Illinois, in the opposite direction from San Francisco, and Woodlawn Doe was dumped within 24 hours of her death, the timelines are off by about a month if Urlacher truly was her killer. So, who is the Woodlawn Jane Doe, and who killed her? Specifically, no one's been able to say. However, the first theory, circulated in online forums over the years, is that either victim, assailant, or both were connected to a mental institution. People cite several factors in this theory. The bedsheet she was wrapped in has a low-quality thread count often used by institutions, and chlorpromazine, the drug found in Doe's system, is a drug that treats schizophrenia or serves as a sedative. It is theorized that the Woodlawn Jane Doe was possibly an inpatient at an institution who was kidnapped and killed by one of the nurses or workers there. Or some theorize that the killer himself was an escaped mental institution patient who came across Jane Doe and committed the heinous murder. However, this is just a theory, and law enforcement has never suggested this line of possibility, and with new developments comes a new theory. Theory number 2. The Woodlawn Jane Doe was an immigrant who came to the country with her parents and siblings. Behind the scenes, investigators were exhausting every resource they had, and in 2015 and in 2016, it paid off. They had 2 separate developments that support this theory. In December 2015, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children announced that Baltimore County PD received a suitable tip from an unnamed source that Woodlawn Doe possibly came with her family from either the Caribbean island of Puerto Rico or Colombia in South America to live in Boston, Massachusetts. That tip said Jane Doe, her parents, and 5 siblings, reportedly 2 sisters and 3 brothers, lived on Forbes Street in the Hyde Square area of Jamaica Plain, a neighborhood within Boston. Some of her relatives possibly had the names Blanca, Tito, and Santana, and reportedly Doe and her siblings either went to JFK Elementary near their home or a Catholic school on Wyman Street, also close by. I couldn't find a current Catholic school on Wyman, however there were reports that Boston PD were searching through the Blessed Sacrament School's old records. I also want to clarify, Baltimore County PD have not made any mention of a Blessed Sacrament Catholic school, and the specifics of the school seem to be the belief of Boston authorities. However, reports say that detectives did work with the Archdiocese of Boston during the 2015 holiday season to pass out flyers to local churches. Police canvassed the Hyde Square neighborhood, hoping to find someone who remembered the family, but they haven't yet been positively identified or located, which is stalling the advancement of this lead. Still, the pieces seem to be falling into place to substantiate this lead. Police speculate that the Woodlawn Doe's amateur tattoo could be the letters JP for Jamaica Plain. A later development released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said that Doe possibly went by Jasmine or Jazzy, further solidifying the theory that the first letter of her tattoo is J, which could have also been her initials. Then, just a year later, there was another major break in the case, one that further strengthened the possibility that Jane Doe hailed from the Boston area. In 2016, Andrew Lawrence, a scientist with the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol and one of only 5 forensic palynologists in the world, tested the pollen found on Woodlawn Doe's clothing. Pollen testing is used in other countries as an investigative tool, but is largely underutilized in the United States. Pollen residue on clothing can reveal specific areas where victims spent time before their deaths. Lawrence found cedar and mountain hemlock on Jane Doe, a combination found in only 2 parts of the United States: the New York Botanical Gardens and the Arnold Arboretum, found within Harvard University in Boston between the Jamaica Plain and Roslindale neighborhoods. An arboretum generally refers to an area or botanical garden where plants are collected for scientific study, according to Wikipedia. Even though it seems we have a majority of the pieces of this mystery put together, the final and most important one, her name and family's name, continues to elude authorities. Since that dark morning along Dogwood Road, numerous reconstructions of Woodlawn Doe were created. Authorities even asked artist Eve Grant for an age regression reconstruction to show what Jane Doe could have looked like in her younger years, since the possibility remains that she ran away from her family. She has never been identified, and neither has her murderer or murderers. On the 40th anniversary, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released the most recent reconstruction, and authorities now say the main priority is to find someone who recognizes her or knows her family. Jane Doe had olive skin, brown hair and eyes, was possibly named Jasmine or went by Jazzy, had a 1.5-inch scar on her upper right thigh, and an amateur tattoo, possibly of the letters JP, on her left arm. She was approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall, 159 pounds, and approximately 15 to 25 years old at the time of her death. Currently, there is a $2,000 reward for anyone with information about Woodlawn Doe's case. If you think you know this girl or her family, please contact the Baltimore County Police Department at 410-887-6162 or the Baltimore County Homicide Unit's Unsolved Case Squad at 410-887-3943. Special thanks to the Patreon family. The names you see on screen are just some of the people who financially contribute to this channel, whether they are passionate about cases like Woodlawn Jane Doe's or the other dark content on this channel. Their support cannot be overstated. If you are interested in supporting the channel, information is in the description, but even if you only continue to support by watching, thank you. Thank you for giving Woodlawn Jane Doe a moment of your time, and a special thanks to all of the investigating bodies in this case. And no matter what you choose to believe or what you speculate, I ask you only for respect in the comments below, and though they called her Jane Doe, she deserves to reclaim her true name so that justice may be found. Thank you for watching the video. Exposure to these cases is highly important, and to those of you who support this channel by watching, contributing, or buying merchandise, thank you. If you want to see other unsolved cases or dark content, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Stay safe, friends, and have a good night.